All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating analysis that connects two countries you might not normally put together, Japan and Australia. The source material draws the surprising parallel, suggesting a political earthquake in Japan might just be a preview of what's coming down under. So it all boils down to this one question. Can a major political event in one nation really tell us something deep about where another country is headed? It's a pretty bold claim for sure, and we're going to break down exactly how the source makes its case. Okay, so our story kicks off in Japan. The whole argument starts with a recent snap election, one where the results gave the ruling party an incredible amount of power. What you're looking at here is Japan's lower house of parliament. See that huge slice? That's the Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP. Now, they didn't just win a recent election. According to the source, they locked in a 2/3 supermajority. And in politics, that is a massive, massive deal. But hold on. Before we go any further, we really have to get something straight about who the LDP are. The source is super clear on this. Don't let that name liberal throw you off. This isn't anything like Australian liberals or American liberals. It's actually rooted in what's called small L liberalism, which is a much older philosophy all about free markets and individual liberty. Think more along the lines of libertarianism. So what do you do with a supermajority like that? Well, the source lays out a very clear vision. With this kind of power, the LDP is aiming to revise Japan's pacifist constitution. You know, the one that's been around since World War II. The goal? To beef up their military, mainly to act as a counterbalance to China's growing power in the region, and at the same time, to really focus on building a stronger economy at home. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the LDP's message. It's a direct quote from the prime minister that's in the source material. Notice it's not about attacking the other guy. It's just a simple, positive, really powerful vision for the nation. It basically says, here is the safe, prosperous country I want to build for you, and a strong economy is how we get there. It's all about direction. Okay, so remember that idea, a clear national vision. Keep that in your back pocket, because now the analysis makes a hard pivot over to Australia, where some recent polling data has been sending absolute shockwaves through the political world. Just take a look at this. According to this news poll cited in the source, Pauline Hanson the One Nation party is polling at a jaw-dropping 27%. And what's absolutely nuts about this is that it puts them ahead of the Liberal and National parties combined. This isn't just a little bump. We're talking about a potential political realignment here. And you know, the really important thing here is that this 27%, it's not a fluke. The source really hammers this point home. That poll after poll, from different companies using different methods, are all pointing to the same trend. One Nation's support isn't just rising, it's surging. Now, the immediate reaction for a lot of people might be to just write this off as a flash in the pan, but the source argues very, very strongly that this is a fundamental misreading of what's actually happening. So on one side, you have the old theory, oh, it's just a protest vote. You know, the idea that when it's time to actually vote, people will snap back to the major parties they know. But on the other side, you see the source's argument. Nope, this is a real substantial shift, and it's being driven by voters who are actively looking for a politician with clear, long-held principles. And the source couldn't be more blunt about this. The speaker just lays it out there. Do not believe anyone that says it's just a protest poll. Absolutely not. This is real, this is substantial. The whole point is that we're watching a genuine movement unfold, not just a temporary temper tantrum. So, why now? The narrative from the source is that for almost 30 years, Pauline Hanson has been saying more or less the same thing. And for pretty much all of that time, she was mocked, dismissed, you name it. But now, in an era where voters are desperate for authenticity, that long-term consistency is being seen in a new light, as principled leadership. In their eyes, she's the one who never wavered. And this is where it all comes together. This gets to the very heart of the analysis. The source argues that the phenomenon we see in Japan and this trend in Australia are actually symptoms of the exact same underlying problem, a deep crisis of vision in mainstream politics. This is how the source paints the picture of mainstream politics today. It's seen as being all about the internal squabbles, the leadership challenges, and campaigns that are way more focused on attacking the other side than on actually presenting a positive plan for the country. Let's break that down a bit. The source points to things like the constant leadership spills, right? Where all the focus is on who is leading the party, not where the party is leading the country. It calls out the endless attack ads and the habit of new governments spending all their time just blaming the old ones, instead of carving out their own clear vision.
And then you have this. This is the contrast. The source argues the reason One Nation is cutting through all the noise is because the message is seen as being incredibly simple and direct. This is the direction, this is my vision for Australia. In a sea of negativity and messy infighting, that kind of simple clarity is becoming incredibly powerful. Okay, so let's tie all these threads together. What does this all mean for the future of politics? According to the source, it signals a pretty fundamental change in what voters are even looking for in a leader.
So here's the bottom line. The analysis concludes that politics is shifting away from just being about debates over tiny policy details. Instead, voters are searching for a story. They're looking for a leader who can tell them a compelling, positive story about where their country is headed and why they should feel hopeful about the future. And that leaves us with this final, pretty provocative question to chew on. In an age of so much complexity and division, have we actually reached a point where a leader's ability to provide a clear, compelling national vision is now more important than any single policy they might propose? It's a fascinating thought, and it might just explain the huge political shifts we're seeing, not just in Japan and Australia, but maybe all around the world.